And so now that you're saying my name formally, I might chop your head off because now we're in this formal, like...
Yeah.
So then I'll have to change my level of bub. I'll be like, bub. See, she's already giving me the look.
How's it work, Bub?
She thinks I'm... Bub. She thinks I'm horrible at making plans, and I am.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, but it's not that my heart desire is to have a great experience on Valentine's Day and just kind of be spontaneous and go with the flow.
Yeah.
He is a spontaneous person. So like when we were dating, we had some planned dates, but mostly it was like, what do you want to do today?
Yeah.
And then we did something really fun and great.
Right.
And we were cool back then.
And I thought I thought that spoke to your 4 kids later. So
but he still
some of those
tries
dates
us
worked
4
out.
kids later.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so now we need to figure out who's going to watch 4 kids.
Right.
And we actually need to plan more. So it's just more that he's spontaneous.
Yeah. So Dwayne we've never made a big deal out of like Valentine's Day or any of that stuff too much. But this year, to throw him under the bus a little bit, he goes, I was thinking of giving you some chocolate covered strawberries. So I was like, okay, great. And he goes, so I don't need to surprise you. Should we just go pick those up? I was like, I don't even want them. Just forget it.
Like now you've ruined the entire
just
thing.
forget it.
Yeah,
So let's just
I don't.
Let's
Let me go pick up my chocolate covered strawberries now.
Let me run in for you and pay for them as well.
Should we tell her about the horrible flowers I got you that one year that you'd like to bring up? No, you tell her.
We can bring this up. It is Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it is a Valentine's Day story.
It's a Valentine's Day story. So we were dating, and
like a
it
year
was
into
one
dating?
of those.
No, it had to be.
Over
It had
a
to be.
year.
Yeah.
We dated for 2 years, so it was like over a year into dating, and approaching 2. And Valentine's comes, and he had his business, and I knew he was working late. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go to your apartment. I go make this meal, have everything ready.
Yeah.
He gets there at like 9:30. Meal's cold by then. Because of work. So it's not like he was hanging out, whatever.
Right.
So I got that. But he shows up with just like the flowers from the grocery store.
From Safeway.
Not rewrapped.
They were like
Nothing,
the last flowers
Like,
available
you could
on Valentine's
tell
Day
they
at 9
were-
p.m.
yeah.
They were wilting.
They were
on the verge.
They were the ones that nobody picked.
wanted. Nobody wanted, right? And for me, it's not so much about the flowers, it's about the thought.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was, there's no thought in these flowers.
Yeah.
And it's Valentine's Day, and I just made this meal, so there's a lot of thought in that.
Yeah.
So that wasn't very great. But what I didn't know is he had actually bought my engagement ring that day.
Oh.
He had gone with my sister and chose it and bought the ring that day. So like he had spent
Which was like
all
the only
he
free
had in
time
day.
that I had.
Yeah.
Right.
And I picked her
He went and
the most beautiful
got
ring.
the
Here it
ring,
is,
which
right
I
here.
love,
Yes.
that day. And so he didn't have time to go get the flowers as well during that. But then what's funny is he also like went silent on like future plans. So like
Oh no.
we went from we're probably getting married to
Then I give her horrible flowers.
and afterthought
You're like, oh, no.
on Valentine's Day to 0 conversations about like future. And so by the time like a couple weeks later, my birthday's in March.
Yeah.
And a couple weeks later, I'm like, what is going on here? Like we've gone from I'm pretty sure we're getting married to I don't know if he even likes me anymore.
And I'm all about
he's done.
the element of surprise.
Right,
You know?
right.
The military, it's
So
just...
yeah, we had the conversation there, and I was like, look, if you're it wasn't like ultimatum, but it was like, I'm turning 30 in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If you're really not into this anymore,
Right.
it's not going to be like, okay, cool, whatever. But I need to know.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
let's not make this go on longer if you're just not. And he kind of was just like, well, no, very vague. I came out of the lunch kind of like, well, he didn't say no. I don't know. I'll give it a couple of weeks.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. proposed 2 weeks later. So
2 weeks
you know,
later. So
skin of his teeth that this is still going on.
Yeah, and here I am getting ready to propose, and here you are getting ready to break up. With
I
me.
was not getting to break
But
up.
she's
I'm
the
just
parent.
trying to
That's what I'm
like, is
gathering
this
out.
where
I mean,
this
the
is going?
ultimatum
I
and
am a
everything.
planner.
Yes,
So this
right.
ties full circle into what's going on today at the last minute Valentine's thing.
yes.
He's totally spontaneous. He wanted to surprise me with the engagement, and he did. And I also know a little bit more about him now that he can't keep a stinking secret. Like,
Yeah, neither can
he can't.
We
So
can't either.
he had to go like the extreme the other way, because if he had any inkling, I would have known.
Right.
That,
right.
yeah. So
So
yeah,
as
and I'm
a-
a planner.
So now, how many years have you guys been married now?
Coming on 16.
16. Wow.
Yeah.
So you got engaged. When did you get married then?
6 months later.
6 months?
Yeah.
And then 4 kids.
Yep.
And they're all still, you have some no, you have one in junior high yet.
Two
Two
middle,
in junior.
middle school, Michelle.
Well,
Get with
I
the-
said
the
junior
20
high.
Junior
Oh,
high.
sorry.
I said junior high to the girls, so we have 2 girls and then 2
don't-
boys. So both of the
They
girls.
would rather
are-
call it middle school?
Middle school. They're like, what's junior high?
They're like, it's not
Oh.
junior high, Dad. It's middle school.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, for
felt
us, it
like
was junior high, right?
was like, that's where you wanted to
Exactly.
be in junior high.
I don't think they even know what it is. That's the thing. It's like junior high was
Right.
where the cool kids were.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we have
It sounds
two.
way cooler than middle school too.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
I agree.
You're just kind of in limbo land, which I guess is a
Right.
very good description of middle school.
Yeah, it is too.
Like,
I'm trying to figure
not
this out.
little, not
Yeah.
older. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have 2 in middle school, 14 and 12,
Mm-hmm.
8th grade, 6th grade. And we have a 4th grader and a 1st grader.
Oh gosh.
So
Yeah.
got it.
And then it's 2 girls and then the 2 boys.
Yeah.
So you're just the opposite from us with the 2 boys and the 2 girls.
Yeah.
So tell me how you feel like, well, first of all, how long have you guys been working in Reed Custom Homes? I know you guys had something apart from that.
Mm-hmm.
You were a firefighter EMT, correct?
Correct.
And you were in the corporate world, but I don't remember what, I know it was like, we talked a little bit about this, but I was like, I'm still vague on
Yeah.
what your description was.
Yeah.
What did you do before?
So I worked in tech. I did
That's right.
acquisitions and investments and partnerships.
Yeah.
So a lot around just basically how tech companies expand their product lines
Yeah.
through those types of relationships with other companies.
Okay. I think our conversations were you were in the business of making other people a lot of money.
No, that's true.
Right?
Yes. Yes, that is true. You know, when you're doing acquisitions,
Yeah.
you're basically negotiating
Yeah.
to buy people and
So what made you guys start Reed Custom Homes then? I mean, what was that transition like? Fuzzies here.
like, you're going to go for it? Or
Yeah, I think like we mentioned before, when I was a firefighter, the fire schedule is kind of conducive for having like a side gig, if you want to.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of firefighters out there that have side businesses, and with the schedule on the 2 to 4 days that I would have off at a time, we were working on projects at home, but then we decided to get into like fix and flips.
Yeah.
So we started buying, fix and flip opportunities, and then they started becoming, bigger and bigger projects, and then we started doing remodeling for friends, other police and firefighters, and then like people from church.
Yeah.
And then through remodeling, you have to, when you open the walls, you dive into a remodeling project, there was a lot of things that we had to fix, like along
Yeah.
the way, the electrical, the plumbing, just to get things up to code. Because if you touch it, you have to make sure it's up to code, when it comes for the inspection. And so we just kept talking. We're like, man, it would be so much easier just to do it right the first time
Right.
and build our own
Right.
homes. And that's kind of what started Reed Custom Homes.
Yeah, it just
So
kind of grew into, hey, we've got to make a decision here.
Yeah.
As well from a career perspective for him, he was actually at the time too he was the medic for the Aurora SWAT team.
Right.
And so that was really full time. He wasn't even getting those days off for the last part of us doing that. He went back online as firefighter for a little bit, but it still just got to where this is growing. We have
Yeah.
to make a decision. You have to, either we need to do this
Yeah.
full time, or we need to scale it back and just tell people we can't do work for them. I mean, I always say we're just kind of crazy enough to just do, because all of it
Yeah.
kept getting bigger and bigger. All of our projects kept getting bigger, from our own investment side of things up to when we were doing full down to the studs, gut,
Right.
some addition, 6,500, 6,600 square feet in Denver.
Wow.
And that's where we're like, we're kind of doing this the hard way.
Yeah.
So why don't we focus on ground up construction, full custom homes?
Now, were you just working with Rich in that, or were you all together from the beginning of the remodels? You know, because you had your corporate job. Were
Yeah.
you still in your corporate job? Okay.
Yeah.
So you
the
both were still
corporate-
kind of working and then doing this part-time, and then you both decided, we're going to do this.
So this Rich was the one that had pulled away from his job,
Yeah.
and it's like, this is where I'm going to head into doing this full time.
Yeah.
And so it really became like us working really closely together on it. We worked really closely together as it was, but
Right.
it was really more his transition at that point.
Well, I mean, we had talked about it, like something needed to change.
Yeah.
Because the firefighter schedule was pretty tough
Yeah.
on you. And then with things that we were doing on the side, and then especially the schedule as being the medic for the SWAT team. I mean,
Right.
I was the only medic that was covering 4 different teams. And
Yeah.
the way that system was made, there was like a couple SWAT teams that worked morning shifts, a couple of teams that worked evening shifts, and then
Yeah.
teams that worked different days. But I was the only medic that covered for all of them. And so that, I mean, it was challenging. I think it was challenging in our like a family dynamic,
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
marriage. I think there was
This-
times that you said I was married more to the SWAT team than our own family. You
So
know,
was it the schedule, or do you feel like it was also the emotional? I mean, because we talked a little bit the other day about just the emotionally what you had to deal with and what you saw. Do you feel like that played a part in home life as well? And then in your decision to say, I'm going to do something else, was that part of that or no?
Yeah, I think it would be both
Yeah.
for sure. You know, I love that world.
Yeah.
And working with the people that I worked with, you know, in police and fire, they're some of the best people I think our country has to offer.
Yeah.
But it's almost impossible to not take the stress from that world sometimes home. I mean,
Right.
the truth is we would see really horrific things, but then I would go home and my kids might be complaining about very minuscule things.
Right, as
that
kids do, right?
In the
It's
big
just-
picture, I'm
yeah.
like, how can you be complaining? Like, do you not understand how grateful you should be,
Yeah.
you know, for your life and what you have and the blessings that we have, when maybe, and this happened a bunch, where moments before I could have been holding a lifeless kid
Right.
or
Yeah.
telling their family. And the hardest part on that job for me was telling a family, we've done everything that we could, but, and you give them the bad news. And so it was hard to have that time, you know, to go home and make that transition.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
very, very challenging. And sometimes I would just go home and be like, I can't deal with anything right now.
Right.
I
Yeah.
just need to escape and do my thing. And
Yeah.
I just can't be here right now.
Yeah. How was that for you, Anna? Because you had young kids. I mean, you've got still young kids, but they were, I mean, obviously a lot younger. So
Yeah.
how was that for you?
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. You know, I have great respect for the families that are in this every day.
Yeah.
Still. You know, Rich does miss it, and there is that camaraderie, and there's a lot of people that we still are very close friends with. But it's very difficult for both
Yeah.
sides, because in so many ways you're a single parent, right?
Right.
You also kind of get in a groove of your schedule while they're at work, and then they're home, and they might need to sleep, and do I need to involve them or don't I need to involve
Right,
them?
right.
So it is this constant, like, you're trying to get things going. You're
Yeah.
trying to move along with life. You're trying to parent young kids, because our kids were very young
Yeah.
while he was in it. I mean, he became a firefighter paramedic when our oldest was 2.
Okay.
And so we had all of them while he was in that
Right.
job function. And so it was very difficult. And, I think understanding for me, a lot of it was understanding that emotional toll. Like he's really good at talking about the calls he saw
Yeah.
on shift with me. So I really understood
Yeah.
where the need for the space was coming from, what had happened. Aurora is a very, very call intensive city.
Right.
So they are not sitting around making chili,
Right.
rescuing cats from trees.
We were hoping for that.
Like they would, like that every day. But
Right.
the reality was that they ran 20 calls in 24 hours frequently.
Yeah.
So that's just constantly one
Yeah.
after another. You never know what you're going to get, that adrenaline surge.
Yeah.
All of that and understanding that this is the person that's coming home
Right.
and needs to decompress from that.
Right.
So it was challenging because there's a lot of dynamics going on there. There's the kids whining about their shoes being wet.
Right.
Whatever it is, right? Like
Right.
whatever little thing that really matters to them, and you're in the middle trying to make it all work.
Right. Mothers.
Exactly. Shout out to the mothers.
It really is, because as much as you appreciate, you have the stress of that, I think emotionally carrying I know I need to do for my husband, I need to support him and be this space for him, but then I've got these young kids who are crying out, and and then if you're still working, or even if you're not, it's being at home with them, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So.
And honestly, I feel like for those who don't work, stay-at-home moms, I would think it's almost harder. Because for me, working, it was a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
But it was a shift in mental focus for me. And it wasn't, okay, I'm always dealing with
Right.
all those little kid things.
Yeah.
And the intensity of these emotions. From him, it was a mental shift and almost like this welcome change for me. So I do feel for those stay-at-home moms in the fire and police service, because they don't have that, and they don't even have the distraction while their
Right.
husband is at work to not be thinking about
Right.
what might be happening too, because there's a lot, right? You could drive yourself crazy sitting at home if you're not busy or whatever with what might happen in that line of work.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a nice kind of mental shift
Yeah.
where you just don't even really
I can
have
see
the
that.
time to do that. You just keep
Yeah.
moving.
So when you guys started working together then, how was that shift? Again, and I'm always fascinated with this, people who are going to work and then now you're creating your own income, your own, supporting your family still. How was that shift for you guys?
I don't feel like, at least from me, I'd love to hear your perspective.
Well, no,
I've
I
never
think
heard
I
of
don't
it.
look at it too much as a shift because we had been doing
Yeah.
so much already.
Yeah.
Right, you
That
transitioned
it just felt
in
like
there.
a
Yeah.
natural
Yeah.
transition.
Okay.
Or a natural direction.
Right, it was
for our company.
Yeah.
Just kind of like it had grown into that. And we had been working so much together on all the other things
Yeah.
before that I don't feel like we had this like, oh my gosh, what are we doing moment.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, before, you were carrying actually way more of the work, especially on the final home flip that we did. And it was in Denver, like country club area, and it was a huge project. And Anna pretty much ran the whole thing. And I wasn't there a ton because I was with the SWAT team at that time.
Yeah.
And in fact, we had a SWAT call out into that area. It wasn't a call out, but we
Ended
actually
up there.
my involvement.
Yeah.
We actually it was actually pretty funny. We chased a vehicle into the area that originated from Aurora area, and there was a lot of things that happened on that, including this bad person ramming a couple of the police vehicles, and then they took off on foot. But anyway, it ended in this country club area in Denver, where all these like $3 to $7 million homes are.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so all the neighbors came out, and And right down the street on the corner was our investment property. And it was my opportunity to kind of meet the neighbors. So I'm in all this like gear, you know, I had a helmet on, you know, I had this gear on and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, hey, nice to meet you guys. I'm Rich, by the way. We just bought that property right there.
Nice.
But no, mostly Anna was doing a lot of the work. Maybe the transition now, now that I'm not with police and fire, is that you have to work with me more. Maybe that brings its own challenges. I don't know.
Not the challenge side. I think it's more of a carrying the load. You know, that is different, right? Because we both have multiple jobs. We're both doing all of this stuff, and it's a relief in a lot of ways to have him, because he is such a team builder, right, and a motivator, and a business builder, right? So the business took off because he was able to focus on it. I mean, it's growing, but it exponentially grew because he's such a good business builder. He's such a good networker. He's such a good visionary. So the business wouldn't be what it is without him. And then just on the team side, I mean, let's face it, construction's construction, right? And sometimes him calling is a lot more effective than me. So our subs are really great in respecting me. I will say that. Like we actually have gone through a few that did not. And it was challenging. And that's one of those things where it's like if the response isn't the same between him calling or me calling, then we need a different person on our team. But even at that, I think it's even more the relationship side. Like they just love Rich, who loves to hang out and get to know people. So it's not just, hey, I need you to do a job, which maybe I'm a little bit, that's a weakness of mine. It's more like, let's get this thing done. Where they will hop for him because they love the relationship with him. So I think there's a lot of really good synergies that came from us doing this more together. We were doing it together, but then having him more full-time on it was really a relief for us.
So how do you guys handle, well, first of all, working with your spouse? I mean, overall, that's like it's got good days and bad days, right?
You guys know.
I might need water for this part. So go ahead.
No, I think, you know, really overall, how do you manage that on a day-to-day, you know, and not take it home all the time, you know, because I know for Dwayne and I, there's been times
I don't know,
where
how do we do that? Let me turn it around. How do you do it?
Well, we're
advice?
maybe that's why I'm asking, because we've asked, I said, we've woke up sometimes and we're just like, we're not even out of bed yet. And I'm like, okay, so what we need to do today and what's the plan and what's the new strategy? And I'm like, okay, maybe we should get out of bed, get a cup of coffee, you know, whatever. How do you guys deal with it, or do you struggle with the same thing?
It's kind of funny. I mean, just this morning, actually, Anna usually wakes up or a little earlier, 4:30.
I was going to say it helps that I'm usually out of bed. So that and one of us is already out of bed usually.
Yeah,
so.
and you know, we both wake up early, and but this morning I get out of bed, I go downstairs, and the first question I ask her is, "Did you send an email to this person?"
Yeah.
And I thought about it afterwards that I should have been like, "Good morning,
Happy
Valentine's Day, great to see you. You look lovely.
Right.
Did you send an email to this person?"
Right.
And it's challenging. I think you do a better job at like family time, shutting your mind down from business. Whereas me, like, I wake up and I'm thinking, what do we need to do today? Business. When I go to bed at night I can't shut down my brain. It's like, what do I have to do tomorrow? You know, and so I think that's what's challenging for us, is because even at the end of the day, and you do go to bed earlier, I'll like go to bed and be like, so, and all I'm thinking about is business stuff. And she's like, shut it down. Like, that's it.
Well, I think, and it's not that I don't think about it. Like I actually go to sleep thinking about it, wake up thinking about it, but it can be so all-consuming, as you know, having your own business, that I have felt, especially in this last year or
Yeah.
so that the only way to survive is to be very intentional about some boundaries.
Yeah.
Now, we're not the best at boundaries. We talk about work at dinner with
Yeah.
the kids. We talk about work
Yeah.
laying in bed. We talk about
Right.
work all the time.
Yeah.
We're not the best at that. But at the same time, like, I know that if I don't start my morning with devotions, right,
Yeah.
I will try to do that first in the
Yeah.
darkness of the morning where nobody's talking to me before he can get up and ask me about that email.
Right. Yeah.
I have to do that. Or really trying with our kids being the ages they are right now, it's really important to try to shut down those work
Yeah.
conversations at the dinner table. And part of that is just most of the time, the conversations we have at dinner table are the conversations about things we're frustrated with. And because it's just so on
Yeah.
your mind.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but I've found myself really trying to push back on that, where it's like they don't need that from us.
Yeah.
They need us to know how their day was. They need
Yeah.
us just to joke around. They need it. So I'm just really trying to be a lot more intentional about it, and set those boundaries at certain times. Now it's
Yeah.
all the time. Some days are better than
Right,
others.
right.
Depends on frustration levels about certain things,
Yeah.
you know. And I think our biggest challenge, honestly, is as a couple, and I think you probably agree. I've never said this to you, but I think our biggest challenge, honestly, is when we're both super frustrated about something, right? We might handle that frustration differently,
Yeah.
where he is more emotive than I am about it, and he just needs to like
Right.
talk about it. I start to take that personally
Yeah.
from him, because it starts to feel like an attack where I'm trying to solve the problem. That's more like, let me just solve the problem.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's stop talking
Yeah.
about it. Let's solve the problem. And I think that's the biggest challenge is we both need to process it. We both need to solve whatever that frustration is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not taking it personally
Yeah.
when we're frustrated. You know, if he's super frustrated about something and like just letting it off with the steam, sometimes I take that personally, or vice versa. There are times when I'm just like over it.
Yeah.
And he's like, you need to calm down. I do not want to calm down. I don't want to calm down.
And
right?
did you just tell me to calm down?
Yeah. It's like if you're allowed to emote, I'm allowed to emote.
Right.
And that is challenging because I think when either of us have the intensity of that emotion, it's very difficult because we're husband and wife.
Yeah.
One, we do find that we're the safe place to
Right.
let those things
Yeah.
off. But also it gets to where it's like I'm your wife. I feel like I should take that on, right?
yeah.
Whereas if you're in some other setting where you're not working with a spouse, when you're not going to be that emotional about
Yeah.
that situation,
Yeah.
you're just going to pent it up and maybe at home be like, I can't believe this happened.
Right.
But then the other party's not involved.
Yeah.
And, okay,
Yeah.
tell me about that. And then also just you're not going to take it on either. If somebody
Yeah.
at work was
Right.
frustrated and they're not related to you in any ways, you'd just be like, all right, crazy person,
Right. Whatever. dude.
whatever, I'm walking away, moving on, right?
Yeah.
But in your home, it's so hard
Yeah.
to treat it that way.
Do you feel like your relationship has gotten stronger by working together like this?
I think in some ways,
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
it
when we
teaches
can-
more about each other.
Yeah.
And then how to communicate with each other on
Yeah.
a different level, on
Right.
a business level. Because, like for me, when I'm blowing off steam, like she'll, like she said, she'll take it personally, but for me, I don't mean it personally to
Right.
her. And I was actually just thinking about that while you were talking about it, like in going like in the military, the fire, like if we had a conflict, we would actually talk it out around the table.
Right.
And everybody will just be very open about whatever that situation was, or if we're debriefing a call, or if we were frustrated about how somebody treated us in a particular incident.
Right.
One, we would talk about it in the fire rig or police vehicle, back to wherever we were going, and then we would talk about it and kind of hash it out. And so that's my natural way of like I guess, coping,
Yeah.
I guess, through something, or even the problem solving process. Like we hash it out verbally, and then let's
Yeah.
back up and figure out, okay, how can we fix
Yeah.
it? How can we come to some type of good solution? And then I think but when Anna takes it as like, I'm attacking her, then it goes to a different
Yeah.
level. I'm like, I'm not attacking. And we get into an argument like
Right.
over that
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
that was never like the intent,
Yeah.
I guess.
How do
So-
you think your customers like working with a couple? How do they say anything? What do you guys feel like that? I mean, just from doing your testimonials, they've always the best things to say about you guys. And it's even this last one, they were just like, they're family.
Yeah.
It moves into family. How do you feel like they perceive it?
I think it again, it kind of goes back to like that dinner time with us. In front of our customers, it's not that we're guarded
Right.
so much, but we're putting our best foot forward. It's genuine.
Yeah.
We genuinely want to create a great product for them.
Yeah.
We genuinely want to have a relationship with them. On the relationship side, when we get home, that's when people let their guard down a little
Right.
bit. That's, sometimes you might get the worst version of me, that our customers will never
Right.
see.
Right.
I think
I
our
don't know what-
customers really like the fact that
Yeah.
there's both sides, right? A husband and a wife on it. Like,
Yeah.
they tease us, we tease them back, understanding of what a home is, because we are family too. So we're building a home for them. We understand, we try to get to know them personally. I do think that there's a nice banter back and forth. There's
Yeah.
times when, he won't come to the showroom for selections for tile or something, and the husband's
Well, I tell
there.
them they don't want me there.
Well, but the husband's usually there, and they're like, "Where's Rich? Like, we just need to
Yeah.
go hang
Let's just
out
go."
in the corner,
Oh, yeah, yep.
So I
Yeah.
do feel like they really like having that, where they know that it's not all the girly girl
Right,
stuff, and
right.
it's not all just, I don't care what your house looks like.
Yeah.
From a design perspective, just tell me what to build, and
Right.
I'll build it for you, which is what you get from a lot of companies.
Yep.
So I think that interplay between the two of us is something that our customers really do.
Well, and that's what I was going to transition to that, because I think that seems to be what sets you guys apart as well, along with your commitment of, I know you're passionate of saying, we're not just building a house, we're building a home. And I love that from you, but you are also do this design element. You come along and work with your clients to create this space. Talk to me a little bit about your Anna Reed Designs. How did that even come about?
Well, we have to design their home.
But you have them with a lot of elements
I
that
do.
you have an
I
eye
do.
for it.
Yeah, so I love that part. That's
Yeah.
my favorite part. I love the build. Oh man, I actually love it all.
Yeah.
Because for me, I actually am kind of a weird person in that I love science and I love technical details. Like
Yeah.
I was in tech. I have a physics degree.
Right.
I minored in chemistry because I thought I was going to be a doctor.
Oh.
But I did not go that route.
Now
and
you know who the brains behind the operation
come
is. Sorry,
on,
go
that's
ahead.
not true. But I almost minored in art. And at
Oh.
the time, I was like, I don't know what I'd do with that. And so for me, this business is actually like, I see it as almost the perfect combination of all that I love. From the production side of things, I'd love to produce. I love the scheduling. I love the planning to the
Right,
beginning part of
right.
our conversation. The technical details of actually building a home and putting it together fascinate me.
Yeah.
But then the pretty stuff on
Yeah.
the Anna Reed Designs, I love that. That's really design. And I can see those rooms before they're done.
Yeah.
So as I'm sitting there with our clients to talk about what are we going to do in this room? What types of tile do you want? What styling are you wanting? I can actually kind of see it in my
Yeah.
head. It's hard to describe. Like in 3D, like if this room were blank and
Right.
you're describing me this
Yeah.
type of wall, and I could actually see that.
That's a huge talent.
And so that, I think, lends itself in those conversations with our clients of tying it all together, because I can see the whole space, right? What it would be like to walk through a home with what we're doing.
Right.
And so I do go to all the design showrooms with them, help them select what all their tile, their cabinetry, the entire theme of their house.
Well, you guys do such an amazing job. I mean, honestly, the detail that you guys put in it, the design elements are beautiful every time I see one of your homes. And it's just, and another client that we just, the Rays, actually, their testimonial, they were like, they're the perfectionists in a good way, that they know that it's going to be done quality and just done beautifully. So it's incredible that what you do in that, because I do not have that. Dwayne and I both have said we are like mannequin shoppers. Like, I don't have a vision. I'm like, that's what we need. That's what we'll get, you know? So, so tell me a little bit about, I know you've talked about this, you even wrote a blog about it, about the building, not building a house, building a home. Why, what does that mean to you? Why is that a passion for you guys?
Well, I think a lot of it is just that my family growing up, we're very close. And home was where all of that happened, right? All of your best times, your worst times, that happens at home. And so I have a lot of really, really fond memories and hard memories that happened at home. My mom had cancer when I was 5, so there's memories around that. And her healing, there's memories around Christmas. My mom still over the top, right, on Christmas. And just how they really thought about bringing family together. And that really truly is all in your home. And your home needs to operate and function as it's a backdrop to that. Yeah. So it's an honor to us to be able to come alongside our clients and say, we're building the backdrop to all those memories. Yeah. And I think even now having 4 kids, right, thinking about how do we, it's like emotional. How do we make our home a place of great memories for them?
Yeah, when she cries, I cry. It was really cool. Every job that we do, we try to make that message pretty clear. And despite what people's faith, belief may be, it is important for us, we start, whether the homeowner wants to participate or not, we start every job with a prayer. Yeah. And it's for that family, it's for the construction process, it's for the safety of my workers, it's for what that home is going to mean to them and how it's going to bless generations, hopefully, and who's going to move into it next, right? So, and it's cool to go back. So you said you interviewed the Rays. It was really cool to go to their house the other day after it snowed, and they've got a bazillion grandchildren, and they're the coolest. They're the coolest family. They're such a cool family, but it really warmed my heart to sit there and watch their grandkids sledding down the hill. Yeah. Because I remember when we were building the home, Ann and I were like, that's going to be an epic sledding hill, because the way it kind of grades down around the home, and it's just this perfect run. Yeah. And so we were thinking that while the home was being built, but then we saw all the grandkids out there sledding down that hill, and the homeowner was out there, and I could see he was really happy, and they were constructing a jump. That's what everybody does. Yeah. You got to have a really cool. You don't have a sledding hill unless you have a jump on it. Right. So, of course. So they were perfecting the jump, and it was kind of a cool moment to see that.
Yeah, he was in the neighborhood and saw it, but she actually took a video and sent us a text before he rolled up. Actually, it was I think almost simultaneous. Right. She didn't know he was right there, but she sent us a text, and it just said, "Thanks for building us a memory maker." Oh. My gosh. And that's what we do.
Well, and it's beautiful to see. Have been working with you guys from, like you said, going out to the lot before anything has even happened with the clients, and it's beautiful from the beginning to the end. And seeing that, I'm sure, was just hugely gratifying. Yeah. Yeah. So, I was thinking there was a question, actually, and I got to put my glasses on for this one. I was looking up some questions that I wanted to ask you, and there was one that said, that I just added, actually. It said, what business are you really in? And what do your customers value the most?
That's an interesting
That's a
way
great
to think
question.
of it. Yeah.
we think, I mean, we think about this a lot. Like, what does Reed Custom Homes mean? I mean, obviously, we're in the business. We're building homes.
Right.
We're building these memories. But we want our business to be more than that. Yeah. We want it to be something that can be an impact, you know, even in our community, you know, and things that are important to us. You know, we're very grateful to be in a situation where we can build these big, beautiful homes. But what does it mean beyond that? Like, and a lot of it we're still trying to figure out. But for me, I have just one thing I have seen is created hope for other people, specifically firefighters and police officers. Because let's face it, right now it's kind of a tough time for police officers. And I had a firefighter that gave me a call. He actually went through one of our homes once during a showcase. And I didn't know him. He didn't really know me. But he called and said, hey, I'd like to chat with you sometime to figure out like how that transition was going from being a firefighter to doing real estate investments and the things that we're doing now. And it was like a really kind of a cool moment because he came into one of our homes. We showed him around a couple different homes, and then we were able to sit like in the great room and just kind of have a very real moment. And about his experiences as a firefighter, and he opened up about some things that are very hard for him, you know, right now, specifically around that. And but it made us think that this business is more than just building homes, like, and where is it going to go from here? And it may be, you know, providing business coaching, consulting, helping people, you know, to make a transition in life, you know, helping people to feel unstuck. And it is a great way for us to, you know, be able to find other things that are important to us that we can try to impact and help, you know, as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to put it. You know, what business are we really in? And I think just the fact that we say we build homes, right? We don't build houses, we build homes. And I think a lot of that home building is not just the structure. It's the family, it's the support for the family, or it doesn't even have to be like some people with kids, right? We have clients who are just a couple, right? They're retired or they don't have kids or whatever, but they're still building their life there. They're still building their future there. And I think there's so much of what we do that's about just building a platform for future for people, either memories with the family or a place to launch off from. Really that safe place would be even just the conversations with people from police and fire that we continually have. As Rich said, that might be about business coaching for what's next for them. Just being a safe place to talk about the tough things about being a police or fire family, because we've been there. And then just building homes that, I mean, I did write a blog about it in the song. The whole thing was around the song House That Built Me by Miranda Lambert. And to me, cue tears. That song does make me cry every time. And the biggest thing is that it's not just your house that builds you, it's all those experiences, right? It's everything in your life that builds who you are from childhood through adulthood, for your career, and not a single piece of that's wasted, right? So everything you do in the home that we build you, right? Because that's how we make money.
Right.
That's truly how we make money. But that's building future generations. It's building hope for where they're at currently. It's the safe space, you know, thinking about how COVID disrupted us all, right? And made us be at home. I wrote a blog about this one too, where it just, everything turned insular, and none of us liked it because none of us knew the end result, right? And in home building, we do have the plan, right? I can see that house. When we break ground, we stand there and pray over this lot, and the whole process, I can see it. I can see it, the whole thing, right? But in life, you don't get that. And it's every single building block that comes together. You don't have the grand plan at the end. You don't know where that's going. And so just creating a space and a structure that makes it safe to go through that process is really what we do in home building, but it's what we hope to do outside of that too.
You guys have such a heart for people. Really, that's what I always get, and that's what Dwayne and I both love about you guys. Is you're genuine. You just have, and so building homes is the tool that you use, right? It's like, this is how we make our money, and we enjoy doing this process. But really, it seems that it's really connecting with people, building great spaces for them. And now I've heard this a couple times now. The transition from firefighter to something else, is that typically a hard transition? Do people feel stuck in that space?
I think they do. I think that's the toughest thing, because when people go into being a firefighter, they picture a 30-year career. And in fact, they, from the very beginning, when you show up and take the oath, you meet with the financial people. Let's plan your 30-year track. Let's plan your 30-year pension program. Let's do everything is instilled. I mean, they're investing money, into the training, into developing you into a great firefighter, a paramedic, a police officer. But it's this 30-year plan. And then as people start to go through that, and their family expands, like us, from 1 kid to 4 kids, it feels safe. It's a reliable paycheck. And then their mind is just focused on this pension. If I can get to 30 years, I'll make X amount of money for the rest of my life, and it'll take care of my family. But through that, it causes that feeling of being stuck, where they don't feel like they can get away from it. Even to the point where they get to the point inside where they feel like they can't do another day.
Wow.
And honestly,
wow.
I don't know, I'm cue tears. No, honestly, there was times in my career where again, holding somebody's lifeless kid. I can't do another day. Done. Can't do it. I can't do another day. Then you go to the next incident, whatever that is. It's somebody's worst nightmare every time. And I'm in the middle of it every time. Can't do another day. And firefighters have to get together and talk, and they have to help each other, and they have to have their own peer, and they have to have their own network within to kind of get through those tough times. But when you think about it, I can't do another day, then you have to think, I have 20 more years. My family is depending on this. And I think that's that stuck feeling that people have inside. And I mean, let's face it, right now, firefighter suicide is actually on the rise.
I was just going to ask.
Police suicide is definitely on the rise. Domestic abuse through the roof. They can't handle, the emotion and the stress, and it's manifesting in so many different ways. Military, we've all know about military. The difference with military, and I'm not taking away, I was in the Marine Corps. I'm not taking away. I love my brothers and sisters in the military. Most of them, when they go in, like I did, I had a 5-year mindset, maybe 10, and then I'm going to get out. I'm going to go in, I'm going to maybe get some education. I'm going to get a GI Bill. It's going to allow me to go to college. So that is the mental track that people have in the military. It's okay, I'm going to do my time. I'm going to do my service. Then I'm going to go to college and get paid for it.
Right.
And then I'm going to go into the professional world. So there is an exit strategy, and that's not taken away from the horrible things that people in the military have to see all the time that, again, most of us don't have to ever witness or be part of. But police and fire is different, because the exit strategy is a career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
you feel like violence or the things that you were seeing was on the uptick than when you first got in? So did you go in and then did it increase? I mean, or did you kind of know what you were getting into?
I think that's the hard thing. For me, I knew I wanted to be a firefighter, and I knew firefighters see tough things.
Right.
I don't think you fully understand until you're in it.
Yeah.
like really the tough things that you're going to see and how it's going to affect you, especially when you have a family. One of my toughest calls was a little girl that reminded me of my own daughter. And then thinking how easy that could have happened to my own daughter. You know, everyday things that we all do every single day, you know, for this, in this situation. So you go into it knowing, yes, you're going to be there. You know, your job is to create the best possible outcome that you can. Sometimes the outcome isn't what we want. And I think over time, what I didn't know going into it is that the outcome that I didn't want, and how often it happens and how hard that will be, like over time, especially as you're married and have kids, and then you have that transference of emotions, like it could be me, you know? So I think that's the thing that's probably the hardest. And I think the thing that we need to maybe train people better, even before they get into the career. And I don't know what that looks like, you know, that it's not just all, you're just everybody's hero every day.
Yeah,
You know?
I would say also there's plenty of police and fire that have a passion for it. They don't feel stuck. It's not like everybody out there after 10 years is feeling stuck and not wanting to.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It is hard for all of them, regardless of whether or not you want to change careers and you don't know how to do that. And therefore you feel kind of stuck, just as Rich was just describing. But there are those who want to stay because they have a passion for that service. They can do another day, but they need more support in processing it, especially as the public right now isn't supporting them in so many ways, even on fire side, right? I think there is a shock. I mean, in the bigger cities for the new firefighters come in, you know you're going to be busy. Right. You have no idea. You're not going to sleep at all for 24 hours repeatedly.
Yeah.
Every single time you go.
Yeah.
And those 24 hours are going to be filled with traumatic calls. Like most days are filled with at least one call that you see something you wish you didn't. And you will never unsee it, ever, for your entire career. So there's still people who have a passion for that and want to be there, but they need more support in it because the departments try to give support. I'm not saying they're not, but if it's support from within the department, it's still within the department, right? So that's something we do have a passion for beyond just, hey, if somebody wants business coaching or wants some thoughts about, you know, what he did and actually left the service, it's, okay, you're still there, you're still committed to it, because we have lots of friends who are, right? They're still going to do their 30-year career, and they want to do their 30-year career because they have a passion for that service, but they need some support. They need a safe place to go and say, hey, I have a Rolodex, that's what he calls it, Rich calls it, a Rolodex of calls, which something will remind me of, inevitably, at least once a week, right? Even now, for him, of, oh my gosh, that reminds me of whatever, right? He was at the theater shooting. He was one of the first engines in there and first ambulance to leave. And every July, that's going to come up, and that Rolodex of those people will come up for him. And so there's a lot that police and fire personnel need support on, but then I feel like their spouses, their partners, they need a lot of support in that too, because it impacts every day more than we will ever. I live with this man, right? I see him every day, and there was a couple weeks ago, not a week, couple weeks ago, months ago, something like that. I feel like fairly recently, he said something, and literally, I mean, I've been married to him for almost 16 years, and I'm like, wait a second, you actually like brought that back, which was way long ago. Like I remember you talking about that call 12 years ago. And you just brought that up. And it's like, it just never goes away, right? You never unsee it. And so that type of support for spouses and partners in the service is
So
really
do you guys
important.
see yourself doing, like, kind of looking into that direction a little bit more of the coaching, the you know, that support system?
Yeah.
I mean, we keep our eyes open on like
Yeah.
what the path would naturally take.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, this is what we're doing, but if these avenues open up, because I have a passion for it, and don't get me wrong about police and fire, I loved being
Right.
a firefighter.
Yeah.
There are tough times, but I loved it. I loved the people that I worked with. Like I said, are some of the best this country
Right.
has to offer. They're putting themselves out there every single day for us. People they don't know. People we don't know.
Right.
And the mind shift for me and for others, you know, who are in this, like I said, well, we were at a Bible study once and we're going around the table and people were talking about prayer support and I just when it was on a very difficult call
Yeah.
and like I was like thinking internally like these are all the things that you're taking to the big man, you know,
Right.
and I'm thinking like maybe some of these incidents that I was just on, which in comparison, like
Yeah.
somebody's like worst day. And but I think the mind shift and what I was like focusing on was like what can we be grateful for?
Yeah.
You know, what's that shift in focus? It's like you know, I can go home and my kids are healthy.
Right.
You know?
Right.
We're you know, that type of thing. So yeah.
I think that you actually said a little bit ago that kind of the business is what we do for money, but and we've always said, even when he decided to make the transition into doing this full time, I even said to him at that point, like, you're a business builder, you're an entrepreneur, you have a passion for people.
Yeah.
I see this as a platform for something, the next thing that God wants to do
Yeah.
in you and in us. And so we don't know exactly where that is. And like, we love building homes.
Right,
We
right.
love what we do. We love the people we work with. But I definitely see it as it is something. What do we really do?
Right.
What do we really do? What business are we in? And what business we're in is caring for people. And wherever that takes us.
I couldn't have said that better. You guys are amazing people. I mean, amazing people to know. And I'm so thankful that we've had this opportunity to have this conversation.
Yeah. Thanks for
Thank you guys
having
so
us.
much.
Yeah.